Welcome to Side by Side, a podcast where I, Robert Kwong, take you inside conversations with artists, creatives, healers, and warriors taking the charge in their transformational story. Today's guest is musician and actor J. Aaron Boykin, who blends hip-hop, pop, and R&B styles effortlessly while living his motto of healing through music. In this conversation, we discuss his musical roots, his purpose in finding Black Boy joy, and the value of knowing yourself in creative endeavors and personal growth. First, I guess I'll start at the most recent thing that I saw, which is I want to say congratulations on your latest single release. There's a track out this year called Manipulation. So to start, congrats on that, because I listened to it and I was like,
thank you.
I need some better headphones because I need to pick up, there's some stuff that I'm missing,
That's really cool.
Yeah, so I'm curious, do you want to say something about your latest single and, anything that you might want listeners to know?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for listening. I've been sitting on that song for a really long time, so I'm excited to just have it out in the world.
Yeah.
The song itself, it's like a fun kind of rendezvous between like two people going back and forth, but it's meant to kind of mirror what manipulation could look like and what it could feel like. And what a lot of people don't know is I actually was on like a mini quest to manipulate the listener as well, because if you don't, a lot of people don't know this, but it sounds like there's a lot of instruments and a lot of things going on in that track. Mm-hmm. But it's literally just a bass guitar and some percussion, and every other instrument is my voice. So a lot of people are always surprised to hear that there's literally only one live instrument and some percussion. It's like me banging on cups and stuff like that. But all the other sounds you hear are from my mouth.
Oh, well, there goes the acapella stuff. That makes sense now. But also, no shit, because I just started with saying, like, this production, there's something going on, or I was like, I'm missing something. I need to listen to it closer. But maybe I'm hearing this kind of contrast that you're talking about. Was that intentional then?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I first started to kind of put together a batch of the songs that I'm kind of getting ready to release, what I wanted to do was I wanted to do it all myself. And I'd been producing and making music myself for a really long time. But when it came to getting like the tones and the timbre and the flavor that I actually wanted, I either had to go out and source those instruments, or I could manipulate it myself. So right. You'll hear some parts in the back that sound like guitar. You'll hear some parts that sound synthy. Yeah, there's no synth, there's no guitar. It's only a bass guitar and kick, drum, snare, and me banging on cups and beads and stuff like that. So that was the best way I could get the music out as quick as I possibly could. It's just to do it all myself.
I totally get that feeling. Sometimes I get flack for it. It's like, you're being the lone wolf. I was like, no, sometimes I know I can get it done in a week. Otherwise, exactly. I have no idea.
And look, and yes, I understand that. I was known as a lone wolf myself, especially when I went through the AC program. So I'm sure there's always room for support and friends and collaboration.
Right.
But I think for this particular song, I was like, I know exactly what I want, where I want to go. Sometimes you just sit down and do it yourself and it works out. It's not every time, but sometimes.
Oh, yeah. No, that's another podcast, let me tell you. But
yeah, a whole nother episode.
And I'm curious about journeying back a little bit. I always asked other artists and musicians, growing up, was music a big part of your life, or was it something you discovered later on? What are some of your early memories involving music?
I think like most other people who kind of like wind up in this spot it's always been music. I grew up around music from a very early age. My mother was she sang in church, and that was like one of my earliest influences was gospel music or choir music. And she sang so much that her and her sisters, when they would go to church, would be referred to as the Boykin sisters. My last name is Boykin. So everybody would go to church to see the Boykin sisters sing. I never got a chance to see the Boykin sisters. That was before I was alive. But she kind of rode that influence well into my life. And she was definitely a person, even when it wasn't cool to listen to everything, she was listening to everything. She put me on the musicals. I've seen Oliver more times than I probably should. The musical. I've seen Hair more times than I should have. Mary Poppins, and all those things growing up for me in my neighborhood wasn't cool. So she really tried to expose me to different types of sounds, music, a lot of R&B, a lot of rock music as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest influences on me was probably like the Motown era of music. It was everything from the Temptations to the Four Tops to David Ruffin's solo stuff, or even Marvin Gaye. Like that kind of music really stuck with me. And then as I got a little bit more refined, I started to find people like Stevie Wonder and Teddy Pendergrass, and I just always kind of had a penchant for like really unique voices.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really the thing that always kind of drew me in. It really resonated with me because I knew I had a voice that wasn't necessarily typical as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my influence, just kind of studying a lot of those legends, man. I like to think I'm a student of the craft because I love listening to legends. Love it.
So was there an experience of like your mother listening to you sing or things like that? I'm wondering, like, because that's not something that was in my family per se. Like I pursued it independently, and they were like, "I'll pay for the piano lessons." You know what I mean? Like, go over
Sure.
there. Did you?
Right. Yeah. Don't ask me to do it, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm curious, with such a big like maternal influence, and also there was a track that is dedicated to your mother. I saw. Did you
Yes.
ever have a chance
Yes.
to sing for her? Did she get to listen to you?
Yeah, she did. I always tell the story about one of the times that I was singing on stage for like a show choir concert. We were in one of our music groups in high school. We had an a cappella group, so we would do stuff every once in a while. And prior to then, my mom, she worked two jobs. She was a very hardworking woman, and was not able to attend a lot of my school events or any things like that. And there's a video out there somewhere of her watching me sing in the still of the night with that a cappella group, and I was singing solo, and her, like, you could hear her smiling and beaming with joy, almost surprised. She didn't know. She kept saying, "Aaron, I didn't know you could sing. I got to be completely honest with you. I didn't know you could do that." So that's a fond memory that I kind of keep with me, and that was the point where she started to really get that this could be something a little bit more than just like an activity after school or something like that. So and ever since then, up until the day she unfortunately passed, she has always been so proud. She always used to say, like, "Aaron, you've done things that I've always wanted to do, and I just wasn't brave enough to do." So she'd see me like travel or catch me on TV. And so she got to enjoy a lot of those moments, but it was always that one moment where she's like, "Man, I had no idea."
So your mom's like, "Whoa, Aaron, you're a whole ass person with like
Right,
all this
exactly. Yeah.
with all this
Like, yeah,
depth."
I've been this way for a little bit, mom, but
I saw this quote of yours that you shared for like a release, right? And it really resonated with me, so I wanted to read it for you. "I've spent a long time hiding because of who I am
Mm.
and healing from what I've been through. After years of cutting my teeth in New York City, learning and performing with legends, I feel healed. I'm ready to share myself and be seen." So my
Who
question
said that was
is,
me? I wrote that. Oh goodness.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
But I hear this a little bit that you were like, you're using music to navigate some of your personal life, your personal experiences, to find meaning and understanding. At least that's what I've gathered from
Hmm.
like the lyrical content, even. And I'm curious, how did immersing yourself in music and the musical world, hustling alongside other musicians, how did that influence your quote unquote healing journey?
It, more than anything, I guess I would say, it just gave me a really soft place to land. Honestly, like emotionally, energetically, it was a home when I didn't have one. Sound was always the thing that kept me grounded. We've all had our fair share of difficulties in life. And I'm no different. I certainly have had my own trials, and from being homeless, from experiencing gun violence, and losing my mom at a very young age, and growing up and watching her do things just so she can help us eat and survive.
Hmm.
And I moved around a lot as well. There was really a time where I was in a place for more than maybe a couple years. So, whether we were moving in with another man or just moving out from another man,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we moved around a lot. But the thing that was the commonplace, the thing that was always home was music for me.
Mm.
Anytime when I was very young, I had a very like a very old tape recorder. So anytime I'd hear anything on the radio or I'd hear anything on TV, I'd go and I'd hit record, and
Mm-hmm.
it was usually like a song or music from a movie or even music from commercials. And I would plug in a pair of headphones, and that's what I would go to sleep to.
Right.
I would go to sleep to sounds that I either curated or heard or songs that made me feel safe in those moments when those things were going on. So
Right.
that's why it's kind of always been home for me, and it's always been healing. And now that I get to explore that and explore who I am as a whole ass person through sound and music, I get to learn edges about myself. I get to learn things about myself that I didn't realize, and I actually get to put these stories down in a place where they get to be outside of me, so I can actually make a choice on who I get to be about it. Yeah, I think it's just been home for me. It's been home. And the thing I always tell other people too is like, there aren't many places where I go and I don't feel the I don't feel black. When I was saying I don't feel fat or ugly, or all those things that I might feel or any person might feel at any given time. When I'm on stage, you are getting energy. So it's actually another place where I just get to share energy with you without the filters of the world. It's a very
Yeah.
long-winded way of saying it's just home for me.
Well, listen, there's you just said something that really struck me. It was like once you could make something out of whatever you're going through, you can sort of make a choice. Or I heard
Yeah,
something to
yeah,
that effect, and that really resonated with me. It's like letting it out, letting it go, so that you can be at choice. Not to bring in
yeah.
coaching training, but yeah, yeah,
Right, right. Yeah, it just gave me an opportunity to see. I took the program as well. I don't know if you know that. But as we got to learn more about stories and what the stories actually mean, the thing that I got super clear on was music and art is like the place where stories get to live. You know what I mean? Like every song is about a story, so to speak. So it was really just an opportunity to put it outside myself and actually get to hear it back and go, huh, okay, now who do I want to be about it?
mm,
You know?
yeah. It's a way to reflect a little bit, bring it out, and being able
Yeah,
to examine it in some ways. Wow.
yeah, or like I don't know how some people might like record themselves giving a speech and then watch it back and go, oh, that's my being. You get a chance to experience your being. So
Yeah.
that's always been really cool for me.
Yeah, that's such a incredible process you have where you get to be so introspective in some ways. Another phrase that I saw that was kind of describing about your music and where it comes from
Mm.
is kind of reflecting your desire to find black boy joy. And
Yes.
that phrase, black boy joy, there's so much energy behind it, to say the least. So,
Yeah.
do you have some core memories around joy or like thinking about the topic of joy? It doesn't have to be joyful, but it really made you think about it.
Yeah, man. I mean, for me, it was always, I don't have much of a family these days. A lot of them unfortunately have passed away, and haven't kept in touch. And my mother was a single mother as well, so I didn't know half of that half of my family.
I see.
But when I think of joy, I just think of all the times when in the mid 90s where everybody was like getting together and having cookouts, and the family would get together and play games and eat food, I even think about like playing with my friends outside. Like I feel like I'm part of like one of the last generations that like only could play outside. You know what I mean? We didn't have no phones, we didn't have any computers.
All right.
You wanted fun, you go outside.
Yeah, come home at sundown. The rest of the time, don't bother me.
Exactly. Exactly right. Yeah, when the street lights come on, you better be in the house.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, So I mean, for me, it's always those moments and just it really getting to share energy with people. And I remember that time being some of like just I remember being in those times, and I could feel how fond those memories were going to be. So it's always around people, connection, man. That's where my joy usually typically comes from, is just sharing energy with other people.
Well, I also know that you spent some time cutting your teeth, like you said, doing backup vocals and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any like interesting things you want to say about that time before decided to be under the spotlight, all of that. What was that time like before you like transitioned and made the big jump and all of that?
It was long. It was long. It was long. I kind of
Right.
you know what I mean? I kind of carried this story around that I had to do more in order to be worthy to be seen as an artist myself. So
Yeah.
I felt like I just spent a lot of time racking up these experiences or these credits or these accolades or these I had to grind. I've done my fair share of free gigs. I've done my share of low paying gigs. I've had my work stolen. Like I feel like some of those experiences were necessary in order for me to feel like I'm the artist that I am today.
Hmm.
But the common thread though in all of that is like I love the craft of music so much that I'm willing to be of service, and even to this day I'm still willing to be of service. So whether it's fronting a cappella bands or I sang a lot of club dates in New York City, everything from weddings to like that shitty bar smell gig. And you know I've seen people fight and throw up, and even I've just seen a lot of
Yeah,
things
yeah.
kind of
In New York City, yep.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've seen a lot of yeah, exactly. You do a lot of stuff in New York City, you see a lot of things. But yeah, I feel really lucky at the end of the day. But the reason I say long is because I feel like I just waited too long, man. I let the story of like I'm not good enough or I need to do more be the reason why I didn't do things myself.
Mm.
I think that's what I remember the most of thinking, is like I'm not good enough and I'm not ready. I wish I can go back and change that, but hindsight's always 2020, right?
Sure, and I can also hear that there was a turning point, or just a however gradual it was, that you were like, I care about this so much that I'm willing to ever slowly climb up that hill until I'm at the top, wherever that is, right?
Right.
And however long it takes.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And I'm sure like unless you define what the top is,
Yeah.
like it's it's like a black hole. You could do as much as you can. For anyone in their business can make as much money, but unless you say what the goal is or what it is, it's like trying to fill a black hole.
No, you're so right. Because I think for me, developing as an artist, which, I was quite privileged in being able to like study formally,
Mm.
classical, mostly Eurocentric music. I don't regret it for 1 second. I was also around other musicians, which is
Yeah.
probably my favorite part of, being that type of experience and training or whatever. But I wish there was more preparation for like the internal work to take care of yourself to make being an artist sustainable. Like,
Hmm.
there's a technique, there's like getting to know people, and there's like the to-dos, but like taking care of yourself, because without you, you're not going to make any art that's coming from you, right? So,
That's right.
and I kind of wish I had known earlier some of the internal things you can work on. you know
Right. Look, man, maybe you could start something up and you could start sharing some of that information, because as much as it was a problem for us, I'm sure there's other people going through the same thing. You know what I mean? It's tough out here.
Well, so it makes me curious. Is that why you're interested in things like coaching or personal development? What I actually didn't know prior to this interview that you did the coaching training as well.
Yeah.
What was the purpose behind that for you? Yeah.
I think more than anything, of course, Elena introduced me to the work, and I knew her right before she started doing like taking the program, before she became what she is today.
Yeah.
And I remember knowing her as one person and then getting to know her as a completely different person after the program. It was just really interesting to see the ownership that is taken. The magic that I guess they kind of do there. It really, I just saw the difference. And I knew that if I wanted things to be different in my life, I would have to try something different. Spending money on a program like that and doing a coach training program is certainly in the box of something different for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I figured I'd never really done anything like that. I see the work. It sounds like I could also help some people, but I could learn a lot from myself. And was scared shitless, and because that's a lot of money, you
Yeah.
know, and it's a big time commitment. But when I made the leap, I almost passed out, but I'm glad I did, because it kind of gave me the ownership. I don't know if I could have been the artist that I am today if I didn't take that program. So I just knew there was a lot of healing to be done in that, and I thought that could be a part of it.
Yeah. Well, when you're talking about the self exploration, and I didn't know that you were curious about coaching or coaching training, but now that I know, I may be
Mm,
projecting, but I can hear it in your work. The way that you talk about certain issues like mental health, anxiety, depression
mm,
feels
mm.
very examined, if you know what I mean. Like it's not just about trying to
Sure.
capture a vibe, but you had a message about these issues.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I that's cool that you picked up on that. I'm glad. I never want to be preachy or have it hit people over the head with it, but it really feels like one of the things that I might be able to offer, not only as an artist, but as a person. It's like to kind of talk about my shit and how someone who looks like me could not get out of bed and cry sometimes. And people say men ain't supposed to do that, or men supposed to be tough, and sure, but I'm not tough all the time. It's hard. Life is hard. Humaning is hard, man.
I'm exhausted.
So
I'm just like, give me a break sometimes, man. Like,
that's it. You know what I mean? And we should be allowed to say that and take that break.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't know. I know I'm better off for it, and I think we could all be a little bit more better off if we choose to take care of ourselves, kind of the way that you were talking about, and not only as an artist but as a person. So I don't have it perfect, but if I can share my little megaphone over here on my side of the world, then for sure I'm going to inject a little bit of that in that.
Well, it makes me want to ask for like fellow artists and other creatives who have to navigate like the ups and downs and just kind of having to guide yourself in so many ways. Besides, the obvious
Mm.
creative expression that comes from making art and music, do you have other advice or maybe even perspectives about how to take care of yourself, your well-being, your mental health that could support the creative expression?
I'd say the biggest difference for me that I'd love other people to know is consider what other people are doing and what you are not doing. I think it's learning about what other people have benefited from, and I'm not talking about like go do what other people do,
Mm-hmm.
but I am saying like it probably would serve you to get curious about some of the things that you just don't know about. Coaching was a world that I didn't know about, but I knew that the program that we went through specifically, we were able to help ourselves while helping other people.
Right.
And that was the biggest difference for me, is just getting to know myself on a whole other level, so I can be the artist that expresses authentically and as purely as I'd like to be.
Right.
More than anything, I would just say do whatever you need to do to get to know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I have so many younger artists that I talk to, or young singers who are like, well, how do you do this, or how do you make this happen, or how do you get over stage fright, and how do you
Mm.
some of those things are just work, and some of those things are just repetition,
Yeah.
as as a musician yourself, but
Yeah.
the mental part is really just getting to know yourself on a level that's deep enough that you can be as unshakable as you can in front of other people and as you're doing your art.
Right.
I would say that's the biggest difference for me, is getting to know yourself.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Getting to know yourself. And before I could really think about it in that uncomfortable way, like all the parts of you, right, through something like coaching training,
Mm,
it was like getting to know yourself so you know what you need when a tough situation comes up, or like, you're going to,
mm-hmm.
it's pretty common. A lot of artists have a little bit of like nerves getting on stage, but you can sort of figure out what works for you, but only if you really take the time to practice
Right.
that thing, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Right. It's like what works for me, what might not work for you. Some of the best advice that I had ever gotten from a friend was, whenever you're on stage and you feel scared, remember to feel your feet on the ground. You can literally wiggle your toes, and it kind of brings you back to like real time presence and being.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the thing that would always escape me. I would get in front of people and go, wait, there's people, there's cameras over here, and there's all these lights, and it can get overwhelming, but feeling my feet just brings me back to, okay, this is real, this is all tangible. No one's got a bag of tomatoes in the back that's ready to,
Yeah.
hit me over the head with it. Yeah, it's that piece of advice that works for me and may not work for you. So that's why I think it's important to get to know yourself and try things that you maybe normally wouldn't.
That's such a great practical tip that I haven't tried. I can't wait to actually try that. As a pianist, that can work for me and it doesn't disrupt the practice. And
Mm,
recently I've been trying to up my technique just to artist, and
yeah.
just getting back to, I was like, okay, I love the improv and feeling my feelings. And then some days I just got to work on the scales that I've been playing since I was 9. And
Right. Sometimes
I
it's just work.
sometimes it's that. And then I was like, okay, how would I check in the embodiment? And I would be like,
Hmm.
I would catch myself not breathing, or like I'm holding my breath a little bit, even just for a tiny
Mm,
time. And I would tell myself, oh, are you breathing? And sometimes that would knock me out. But like knock me
yeah.
out of the concentration because I didn't know that I wasn't breathing. And I was like,
Oh man.
boy, this is tough. But it's similar to what you're talking about a little bit. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, if the breath is everything, man. Like if it's not even like just on a practical level, like actually getting oxygen in your body, but holding on to it and denying it is the stuff that tenses you up. It's the stuff that like actually changes how you think. So that's something I've been working on myself too. I tend to hold my breath sometimes or not breathe. So
I never thought about it that much because I was like, that's a vocalist problem that I don't have to worry about. But that's not true.
right, you're gonna perform different if you're breathing versus when you're not.
My body's tighter when I'm just in that whatever state that makes me feel like I need to hold my breath or preserve
Yeah.
oxygen. It's not on purpose. And anyway, I learned that from actually talking to people like Elena and there were a couple other folks into personal development who were all like opera singers. I was like, this is a sign.
Yeah.
Let me learn from you.
Yes, those are good people to learn from, especially in the breath department.
So you're a vocalist as well as a rapper. Like you write your own material as well.
Mhm.
Is it different for you getting in the zone, so to speak, like for vocal work versus when you're thinking about rapping, or maybe it's like whatever comes out, and then you're like, oh yeah, I guess it's a rap. I don't know. What is your process?
It's not too far from that. For like, I think whenever I go to write a piece of music or if I'm feeling something that I want to get out, it's organically whatever comes out first, it's usually just speaking to the music that I've created or speaking to the feeling that I have. And for example, the song Hi Mom, which is, I'm kind of talking to my mom
Yeah.
who passed away. It felt more apropos to speak to her, you know, as opposed to sing. So I wanted to talk to her. And what a lot of people don't know is before I sang, like I wouldn't call myself a rapper, but I was a huge fan of rap before. Like
Mm-hmm.
I loved rap music. I grew up in that Northeast, Philly, New York City area.
Mm-hmm.
So, you had to be into the rap scene a little bit. And I was all about it at a time. So for me, genuinely, it's just whatever comes out first. But whenever the vocals kind of come to mind, it's definitely a different mindset. You know what I mean?
Do you have a favorite lyric or verse, perhaps, or is this like maybe like picking your favorite children or something? But yeah, curious if you have something that always you resonates with you or you always think about.
I think the lyric that I think taught me the most about myself was in a song that I wrote many years ago. It's called Love Thing, and it's about like kind of being a destructive twosome, if you will. And one of the lyrics that I wrote, and I had a moment of almost like immediate epiphany about my story and how I relate to myself. But the lyric is, "I'm easier to love when there's not much to see."
Mm.
So it really helped me see not only one how I related to myself, but two, it helped me to see how I treat other people to relate to me.
Yeah.
So if I hide myself, if I hide my greatness, if I don't give people everything because of what I think of myself, that's exactly what I'm going to get back. So even in that moment when I'm trying to like dig into this vibe of like, yeah,
Yeah.
like really trying to like tell my story, I had a moment of like, oh shit, man. And then like, that's what I mean about that mirror, and seeing it on paper or hearing it back is like, oh my God, is that really what I think about myself?
Right,
So
right.
I know it's not the most like uplifting, inspirational quote, but for me, that was the one that kind of it changed a lot for me. I didn't put out anything for like 4 or 5 years after that
Wow.
because I just knew there was work to do.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Wow, what a pivotal moment then.
Yeah.
And then to do the work and come back is, which I resonate with me a little bit, is something. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So what was that like for you? Like actually like going having that moment of realization and coming back after taking care of your needs.
I just, it's similar to what you said. I knew that something was happening. I was really struggling in music conservatory. And then I made the decision,
Mm,
against other people's opinions to basically just leave the conservatory and quote unquote take some time to understand what's happening
hmm.
and some of the things that I was trying to process that were more traumatic, but I just never thought about it in that way. You know what I mean? We didn't, if
Yeah.
you don't discuss, if you don't look at it, you can almost like pretend it doesn't exist, but that's not quite true, especially when you're trying
Right.
to be an
Yeah. And
artist.
you can get good at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so good at it, but doing the work, coming back to it, of course, it was very tortured at some points, and I was just like, man, I felt so disconnected from music. It was through coaching training actually that I started taking piano lessons again. So the
Ah.
same thing. I didn't, this thing, what you shared about Elena, you're just like, wow, you saw her coming out of it.
Hmm.
Pretty much the same thing happened to me, and people were like, what the f, what happened there? What is this program about? It seems sus, but also like, how are
Yeah.
you playing music again just out of the blue? And I was like, it's not. It's about 14 years coming, but I'm here, so it's good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. There's a lot more to that story than people think.
Exactly. And I was like, thank you so much. It sounds delightful, beautiful Parisian classical music, but you don't know the half of it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Just to get there. Oh man, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Oh man. Gosh, it's been so wonderful to deep dive with you. I kind of sense that your material is just really deep, you know what I mean? But I had no idea that. I was just like, "Oh, yeah, we're already there. We don't have to even work on getting deep." So
Oh no, yeah. As anyone might tell, I'm an open book. What you see is what you get. Ain't really much fluff here. So
well, what are you most excited about coming up for you, or anything else that you're looking forward to that you might want to share?
I am really excited. What a lot of people might not know about me is I'm an actor as well, and I've been acting for a very very long time. I've done some commercials and a few things here and there,
Hmm.
but I have my first feature film that is premiering at one of the biggest independent film festivals out there in Switzerland,
Mm-hmm.
called the Locarno Film Festival, and I have a film that I have a role in that I'm really excited about. So that movie's going to come out soon, but it's hitting the film festival circuit,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna fly out to Locarno in Switzerland, and I'm gonna see my first movie premiere, and that's something I'm really really excited about.
Congratulations.
Thank you, I really appreciate that. It's cool. It'll be out on distribution at in some way or another, but the film is called Falling Stars, and it's a horror film. Actually, oddly enough, I was never a huge horror fan, but that's my first movie role, so I'm really excited about that. That's coming out. I got new music coming out. I have some sync deals in the works with a few companies to share my music with TV film ads and things like that.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm going to be on the road with my a cappella band Duende in Europe in November as well. So yeah, I got a few things that I'm really really excited about, and I can't wait to share more about it.
Yeah, well, much like many artists, you are definitely multitasking, but very amazingly. So, congratulations. Looking
Hey,
forward to hearing
I
more stuff from you.
appreciate you. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, please. I'm excited. And thank you for sharing your energy and your story, man. I appreciate you vibing with me.
Yeah, no, I've been intentionally been wanting to connect with more artists, writers, musicians, what have you, right? And this is where I cut my teeth. And
There you go.
it's no, the pleasure was all mine. And yeah, I hope we can connect again sometime in the future. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely. My pleasure, man.
Thank you for tuning in. Listeners are welcome to connect with me over Instagram and LinkedIn. You just have to search my name, and I love to hear from you. If you'd like to learn more about my work as a coach and artist, please visit www.robertkwonghome.com.